Welcome guys back to Wainan POV. Now, as I said in the menu, yes, I mentioned this. Aspiration and hype has ruined the automotive industry, has ruined the car scene in Malaysia. So why have I said that? So first thing first, I'll start with what I have recently bought. It is a 16,000 ringgit 2004 Mercedes-Benz C-Class 180 compressor classic. This is the cheapest model of Mercedes that Mercedes-Benz Malaysia came in, and it is a Malaysian spec model. I'll bring you through it. So this car has not been the most popular. No one really likes it because of how it looks, because it's a bit uncle. The 3 Series has gotten all the spotlight instead. But the reason why I got it could be summed up in my later review. So C-Class, it is a C-segment executive compact saloon. Mine has E-Class rims on it, 16 inches, Michelin Primacy 4, which I changed. And it has quite a nice key and welcome lights, which is nice. A C-segment saloon, it actually has quite a decent... Oh, I have to actually unlock it twice for safety. Quite a decent boot with springs, which I can actually put quite a lot of stuff inside. No foldable seats though, unfortunately. And it being a compact saloon, I would expect the rear space to be tight. It looks tight, but it's because the seat base is actually very long. So sitting back here, I'm actually quite comfortable. The seat is actually quite a long way up, and it's angled in a way that I'm actually very comfortable with. And obviously being a Mercedes, the door shuts, the quality is definitely there. I mean, come on. Seating back here, it is just so comfortable. Put up the headrests, and it is a very relaxing space to be inside here. The seat squat is quite long and it's supported. It supports my thigh quite well. There's actually enough headroom. I've got about 2 to 3 fingers. And the seat in front, you can actually slide your feet inside there. So sitting at the back here is actually not too bad. So, what makes me say such a controversial topic? Now, just a bit of a profile. I am age 27. I'm a 1997 guy. And what happens is, having known so many car enthusiasts, there is always a presumption that old cars or second-hand cars are not worth buying. Now, I'm going to drive this car and show you what it is capable of. At 16,000, this car is cheap. But then you may be asking, oh, there must be a shite ton of issues with it. Well, it has broken down on me once because of a shorted out starter. Turns out it was actually because of a wiring loom that was botched by a previous mechanic. That's all done. Now, this car was bought by me because I needed a car for work to fetch customers in comfort, and a car that won't break the bank. You might be surprised, a car that won't break the bank, why would you get an old Mercedes in the first place? Now, the Mercedeses that are very difficult to fix most often are high-spec Mercedeses, like the S-Class, the E-Class with V6 engines. The base model Mercedeses, as you can see, are actually very cheap to maintain. I'll give an example. This is a 1.8 litre supercharged 4-cylinder engine with a 5-speed gearbox. This 1.8 litre engine does easily 8 litres per 100 kilometers, and sometimes even better. One tank of this car on the highway will get me 700 to 800 kilometers off the 62 litre fuel tank. It averages better fuel economy than a modern Corolla Altis, and at the same time it provides so much more comfort. Now, new Mercedeses are, because of the trend of getting new and etc., they are actually getting more fragile. It's all about the RGB lighting than the actual quality itself. In this, despite it being 20 years old, every panel that you touch is soft. The leather is holding up very, very well. There is barely any creaks or rattles inside apart from the leather and the seats. And wind noise refinement and in general is just so relaxing. There's barely any engine noise on the run. There's also almost no road noise. There's a little bit of wind noise coming from the pillar, and that's about it. Now, the reason why I would say Aspiration and whatnot has been ruining the car market is simple. If I wouldn't to tell you that this car is cheap to maintain, people wouldn't believe it because they say it's an old Mercedes, it would be expensive. Turns out wear and tear in this car is almost the same as a homegrown Proton Persona, albeit slightly more expensive on some parts. The shock absorbers for the front two on this car, Bilstein units, are only 700 ringgit. The rear's the same. The only more expensive part are the lower arms in front because there are two of them per side instead of one. However, old Mercedes being old Mercedes, they are incredibly long lasting. This car has done 20 years without changing the lower arms, and you can hear it, but you can't really feel it. On the highway, it is still incredibly stable. The highway manners on this car are still better than most of the C or even D segment modern cars that you can find nowadays. The other day I sat in a Toyota Camry Grab, and I have never felt more uncomfortable on the highway in the back seat compared to this. This is so much more comfortable on the highway, and it just glides across bumps without giving you any form of an issue. Now, there is a recent hype of JDM cars recently for the Toyotas and the Hondas, because of the social media generation. Everyone wants a piece of the fame, the communion and the community of owning a car that is basically the same as everybody else. However, I'm here to tell my viewers, that there's always more than one answer when it comes to cars. This may be an old Mercedes, yes, but in the long term works out to be cheaper to run than a Perodua Myvi CVT. Now, hear me out. Servicing in this car, you need full synthetic oil, and that's around 300 something ringgit for 6 liters. The automatic fluid on this genuine Mercedes-Benz is only 170 to 200 ringgit for 6 liters, and it only needs replacement every 60,000 kilometers because of how reliable it is. The genuine Mercedes-Benz ATF filter is 90 ringgit. And because old Mercedeses were built by people who genuinely care for mechanics, they know to put things which are common sense for the mechanics to service your car. As we go onto a highway, the highway manners, the premium roots of this car become even more apparent. You'd say that, the Honda City gives you the 激情, the Honda soul and the brah and everything. Well, to be honest, let me switch it to standard. I wouldn't call this slow, to be honest. Yes, this is actually going uphill, and we're actually raining over here. And this car pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls that you wouldn't even notice that you are going at illegal speed limits. Now, on the highway, the premium roots of this car are becoming more apparent. There's barely a whiff of engine noise, road noise and wind noise. The car is so stable that I can actually take my hands off the steering wheel, and that's how good it feels, even when overtaking heavy trucks and etc. Now, what about the people that say who are saying, "Oh, there is no teaching. Oh my God, there's no like VTEC, you know. My Honda City can be much faster than this." Well, you can see for yourself when overtaking 90 kilometers per hour in 5th gear. I'm gonna step on it. I wouldn't say this is the fastest thing in the world, but it pulls on a decent pace and it will not let go. And without you even noticing on your speed and etc., you are up to whatever speed limit that you can't actually go, and you'll be leaving economy cars for dust. In fact, at 20 years old, this car has a top speed higher than a Honda Civic FC because there's no limiter above 208 kilometers per hour. This car has a same top speed as a new S70 Proton at 220 kilometers per hour, and this is only the cheapest 1.8 liter engine, the lowest tuned engine that the C-Class offers in 2004. So Mercedes were not kidding when they meant in the past the best or nothing. They know their engineering prowess, and at this sort of speed, I can just simply steer with one hand. The wipers would not lift, and the wipers are just completely sticking to the windscreen. And at the same time, I feel completely corseted. The seats are comfortable, and also not to mention, it is barely any noisier than it going 120 or 110 kilometers per hour. When I go on the highway and I have to overtake cars like these, like heavy lorries and etc., it barely gets any form of disturbance because of their side winds. And when I want to choose a car that is going on a highway for a long journey, this is the car that I choose. This car overall has lower maintenance in general than a Perodua Myvi or a Perodua Activa, has a fuel economy almost as good as a Beza or Asia on the highway, has much more comfort when it comes to the seating and the ergonomics over here. And yes, the interior may be on a slightly older look to it, but you'd be respected. You know, that pointy little star in front, standing ahead proud on top of the bonnet, is reminding you that despite you spending only peanuts to get this car, your life is treating you well. And saying the words, "I drive a Mercedes-Benz," does have more cachet than, let's say, driving a Honda. Now, I'm not to say that I'm looking down upon, you know, cars like the Honda City or the Civic. They are good cars, but have we, as Malaysians and also car enthusiasts, hyped them up so much to the point that their asking prices are ridiculous now, to the point where they are not more affordable used, and yet people are still buying them by the droves, wasting their money on cars and costs that they don't need. I mean, look at this, taking this corner at 100 plus kilometers per hour in the wet, zero issues. The ESC didn't even flinch on this car. I highly doubt I can take this sort of speed in the corner in the Honda City, and this is with worn out, almost 20-year-old shock absorbers and lower arms in this car, bushings and all. So folks, the aspiration and the 热情, the 激情, as everyone is saying, the passion of owning a certain brand of car should not be of your concern of getting your next car. This is an excellent car for the price. It's prestigious enough. It is not extremely cheap to the point that you feel like it's falling apart, and yet it will cost you so much less to maintain a car like this compared to even an A segment Perodua in the first place. The only thing that you need is ready cash. You would need cash to buy the car since it's old, and you would also need cash to maintain the car. Give it a good fix-up, change all the fluids when you get the car in the first place, get it inspected by people that you trust or a mechanic, and this car would run and run and run without any issues whatsoever. These old Mercedeses are tough. They are built to a much higher standard than a modern B or A segmenter, and even built to a higher standard than their own cars in 2024. So why do I not chase the trend? Yes, when it comes to modifications, there's nothing much that you can do to this car. Maybe it's more expensive to get a sports exhaust on, for example, or a body kit or this and that. However, why spend all that money for me? I mean, this is my own opinion. Please do not come and blast me for it. Of all the money that you can put into a Honda City or a Toyota Vios to make it faster, to make it sound better, this and that, there comes this 20-year-old car that can easily outrun a modified City or Vios in a heartbeat, outhandle a modified Honda City or a Vios easily, even at this sort of weather in the rain. That was 130 through that corner. Easily give you a driving experience that is 2-3 classes above its own price. Owning a compact executive premium car that is over 200,000 ringgit when brand new. Yes, it does not have the sporting edge that the BMW 3 Series E46 gives, or E30, but it's so much more manageable on throttle, on limit, even on tricky sessions. The steering is just nice. It does not weigh up too much like the BMW E30 series. The gearbox, despite it being a little bit slow at first, is very responsive once it gets to know your driving style, just like that. It block shifted from 5th to 3rd gear. The steering weighs up beautifully. You can feel what the front wheels are doing consistently when driving this car. You can know the grip level, and you can even adjust the car on its limit just by using the throttle. The gearbox, once it learns what you're doing, it just knows what gear to give you. And you can even brake into the corner just like this, step on the throttle just a little bit. It's so well behaved and balanced that I simply do not see people driving W203s like this, because they just look like uncle cars. But as an uncle car, this is really, really capable. Sure, it is not as outright sporty as the BMW 3 Series or the Honda Type Rs or stuff like that. There's no sound, there's no what, but the capability that it has, and in these sort of roads, in this sort of weather, this is a all-round performer, an all-round, all-weather performer that can easily outrun 90% of the cars they throw at it on the road. That rear is just so nice. It listens to you, it knows what you want. It is almost instinctive driving this car. And look at that, holding on to the gears when you release the throttle and you're on the way downhill. Smart. It's criminally underrated, this car, just because it looks a little stodgy, it looks a little bit uncle. Does not mean that it can't hustle. Woo! new drivers or enthusiasts, pick one up. A W203 Mercedes-Benz right now retails for only 15,000 all the way to 20 something for a very, very good condition unit. A C180 is nicer to drive around town because of its lower tune, high compression and low boost. But on the top end, it does lose out a little bit. If you want a nicer experience, or a more sporting experience, go for the C230 Avant-Garde. That has 17-inch rims staggered, has AMG brake calipers, 2 ports, and different suspension tuning. That also has a more powerful high boost engine, which will give you more power up top. If this is already this capable at this tune, can you imagine what the high-spec C-classes can give you? Underrated, criminally underrated. That was wonderful through there. Just go in, step on it, it will sort itself out and pull you out of the corner. In fact, the cornering speeds that I do in this car are higher than my Proton S70 and my Proton iRace. And I can bet you a dime that it would be faster in real life with all the roads, the terrible roads that we have and etc., than a Honda Civic RS. Turbo or non-turbo, it would be difficult to catch up to this car in real life just because of how much confidence it gives you. That was beautiful through there. Didn't even flinch. There's a bit of water on the road. Good tires are making a difference here. The Michelin Primacy 4s may not be feeling sporty, but when it comes to handling and feeling safe in this sort of weather, they are excellent. And the gearbox is knowing every movement that I know. Throttling back, it keeps on giving me a lower gear so I can have a bit of fun. And if all doubt, you can always switch it over to manual mode and shift the gears yourself. Go out there, guys, and get yourself a 203 and have fun while you're at it. They are getting neglected, so get one while you can right now. And before I sign off, do enjoy this video, and I hope that it has been giving you a fresh new perspective of the choices that we can make as Malaysian car enthusiasts. There is always more than one answer. There is always more than a Perodua Myvi 1.5. There's always more than a City, a Vios or a Civic. There are more options out there. Be brave, keep an open mind and explore the options. Maybe you would land up in something different and unique. And what's the joy? To drive the same thing as everybody else on the road. Us as Malaysians have so much more choices of cars in the past, and now we're only relegated to a few, and that's about it. So go out there, guys, have an open mind, and if you have any inquiries or questions, or if you would like for me to POV your car, please do contact me in the comments below. I'll see you guys soon. Good night.